my channel when I did my old videos, I had a tutorial on how to make free and easily make custom thumbnails for your YouTube channel. Now, Paint.net got an update, and I just got a lot better at making thumbnails. So I want to help some of you guys out by giving you a tutorial on how to make amazing looking thumbnails that can look as good and sometimes better than Photoshop thumbnails. Of course, Photoshop has a lot more tools, so of course Photoshop will be most of the time better thumbnails, but this is for free and makes professional looking thumbnails. If you like my thumbnails that I make on my videos, you can check my thumbnails from the past year or so. You can see that you can make them all for free. All my thumbnails are made, I think 95% of them, the custom ones, or I can say 98% of them, made with amazing free Photoshop graphics imaging making program called Paint.net. Now, Paint.net is not just a YouTube thumbnail making program. I make it for banners, for graphic design, for printing out really cool art on the computer or something like that. It's basically like a free Photoshop, but it has really great tools and other plugins that you can download for yourself too. Now, some of these plugins on Paint.net are downloadable. Like for one, I'll be using the drop shadow is basically, I think this is the only one that is a downloadable, but you can easily search it by going to Paint.net drop shadow or object drop shadow plugin. I won't Google it for you because there are other alternatives to having a drop shadow, and I'll show you later there. So, how to easily make thumbnails with Paint.net for free. All of this is for free. First, you want to download the Paint.net. I'll have the link in the description, but if I forget or it's not there or you're too lazy, just go to www.pdn.com/download/pdn.html. And you'll see free download now, Paint.net 4.0.3. Now, by the way, it is 2014, July 26, 2014, so this is pretty updated right there. Download it right there. And this is the requirements. You can check it right there. So, next link I want you to go to is you want to go to this amazing website called dafont.com, www.dafont.com. It's a really, really amazing font download website where you can download a lot of amazing cool fonts. There are other ones like 1001fonts.com, but I certainly like this one because they're high quality and they're all free to use. So what I like going to Cartoon and looking at really cool fonts like that. I have Grow Bold. I think I have Animated. I also have really cool fonts like other ones here. These are really good for thumbnails because they pop out and they're really, the YouTube user really likes to look at these fonts. So once you've downloaded a font or a couple fonts, because you might want to have a variety of fonts on your thumbnail, then you're done. If you want to know how to download fonts, there are a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube, but it's pretty easy. You just click download, you double click on the zip or .ttf file or .true type font file that it gives you, and then you click install, and it's pretty easy to download fonts. You can, if you don't know how, you can search up a tutorial on YouTube. Next, what you want to do is probably the final thing you might want to have a really good background for your thumbnail. Now, this will depend for any video, okay? But for a tutorial like this on how to make thumbnails, I use the crumpled paper texture because these are really cool looking for thumbnails, and it kind of related to the video itself because it's how to make a thumbnail that has art and it's paper. You know, you guys can connect the dots, but I use this only once in my videos, and I think the crumpled paper texture looks really good actually. So now once you have a cool background, if you're having a gaming background, let's say I don't know, a mini game on Mineplex or something, you might want to have a background like a screenshot of the game itself as the background, and then have your text over and your images and stuff. That's what I basically do. You don't want a thumbnail that's like one layer and everything is bad and stuff like that. You want it to be, want to have depth to your thumbnail, and I'll teach you how to do that later. You want to have a good background. I use this crumpled paper texture. You can just copy it, and it's pretty easy to paste it into your Paint.net. So once you have your text, your background that you want to use, your text that you want to use, your font, and if you have Paint.net, which is a free download, you can open up Paint.net. I have it right here. It's actually pinned to my taskbar, and this is what it will show you when you first open it. It may be a little confusing, but don't worry. This is a lot less confusing than Photoshop, free and totally professional. You don't really have to worry about too much of these stuff. This is just depending on the tool. They change depending on the tool you use. So yeah, basically what you want to do is you don't want to have a thumbnail that basically 800 by 600. You want to have a 720p or 1080p thumbnail. As you can see, the dimensions are at the bottom. It says 800 by 600. You want that to say 1280 by 720 or 1920 by 1080, depending on the quality you want for your thumbnails. Thumbnails will be reduced down to a size about, I would say, here or maybe even here, and they're going to be really tiny. So I don't think you really need 1080p because it will make a bigger file size, and it just, it's better quality, but it won't really show when it's so small. So what you want to do is, first you want to go to image, canvas size right here, Control-Shift-R, change the width to 1280 because it's going to be a 720p thumbnail. It looks really professional and really small file size, by 720. So it should say 1280 by 720. Keep the resolution at 96 because that is a pretty good resolution for the file size. And by the way, keep in mind that YouTube thumbnails are a maximum of 2 megabytes only. If you go exceed the megabyte when you're done your thumbnail, you might want to change the file type from if it's a JPEG, change it to something else or something. Or you can bring down this resolution, or yeah. So hit OK, and as you can see, we have our perfect size thumbnail. So what I like to do as a habit and as a really good tip that you guys should do every time making thumbnail is you want to have a transparent background, because you don't really want to have white as your background, because as you can tell, if you put, it's just not really good, because you might want to have you don't want to have, because the white background is basically another layer that is already there by default. So as you can see, if I try to delete this line, it'll delete the white background, and the little checkered board that you can see, that makes it transparent so that nothing is behind it. So you want to delete the whole white background by doing Control-A on your keyboard, or go in the tool window and want to hit rectangle select or S on your keyboard. Left click, drag your mouse, select the whole white thumbnail, hit delete on your keyboard, and bam, it's all transparent. So the checkered board, the little checkered texture makes it transparent. That means it's going to be clear. You guys probably know what that means. So now we have the bottom layer. It's named background. You want to paste your little background here so you can copy that. And you need to use your keyboard for this. You can't right click and paste. You need to do hold control on your keyboard and V at the same time. And boom, you have your background. Now make sure you have a free background, copyright free, and you're free to use. Google Images, basically one of your best friends when it comes to images. But if you really want to look professional, you might want to go to a specialized free image / background website Shutterstock. And if it's not I think you have to pay for Shutterstock, but maybe Google Images, I think a lot of people use, and I haven't gotten in trouble yet. So you want to make a new layer by going to add new layer here, or I think it's Control-M. I actually don't know. But as you can see, the background looks pretty good. If you want to make the background look more professional, I sometimes blur the background to make the text pop up a bit more, but only a little bit. You go to, this is an effect. As you can see, I have so many effects. When you first open it, you're probably gonna have from this to here of effect. You won't have this many effects. I just downloaded a huge effect pack that you don't really need all of this stuff. Look at that. You don't need all of this stuff. So what you want to do is go to effects, blurs. You will have blur. It's not a downloadable one. Blurs, and where it says Gaussian blur, right there. Not Gaussian blur plus. That's something you need to download. This is Gaussian blur. Just hit Gaussian blur. Now put the radius up to about 15, or if you have a pretty plain background, you don't want to blur too much. So I recommend 8 or something like that. So it's slightly blurred, and yeah, as you can see, the paper is not completely white. So if you want to fix that, you can go to adjustments, hue/saturation, which is not downloadable again. Bring up the saturation a bit, or bring it down to make it a little bit more white, or bring up the lightness, bring it down, change the hue of it to whatever you guys want. You can mess with the background you want. I like it when it's pure white, not like a little yellowish like that. So that's what I like my background to be. So once you have your background finished, you can finally start to add your text. Now, I like to keep if my background is white, I want to make my text black first and then change the effect later. So I have a cool font that I have. It's called Cartoonist. I like that font. I downloaded it from dafont.com. So yeah, get a good font from dafont.com or any font website. So once you have your background done, get your font and make it pretty big. You don't have to bold this one, or you can bold if you want. Just make it whatever you want. I want to make tutorial. That's what I'm gonna put at the top, and then under I'm gonna do make custom thumbnails. So you can make this bigger by, of course, making that bigger. You want to fit, for me, if I want to make a tutorial, I want it to be the biggest thing, because so that they know it's a tutorial. No duh. So that's pretty good for me. Under I'm gonna have how to make custom thumbnails. Right, so there we have tutorial. You can add a like that if you want. I'm not going to do that because I don't know why. I just like it when it's simple and great. As you can tell, that doesn't look pretty good at all. So I recommend if you're doing like tutorial and then under it make custom thumbnails in a different size, you want to have a new layer. So I told you don't want to have everything on one layer because then you can't separately edit them. Because as you can see, if you click this little where's my mouse? Okay, if you click this little checkbox right there in background, then it will hide the layer, and as you can see, the tutorial is on a totally separate layer with another transparent background. So let's say if I select, oops, let me bring that back. If I select the whole thing on the text layer and I hit delete, it won't delete the background because it's on a separate layer. Let me just undo that because I want that back. So separate layers so useful. It's a no-brainer when you're making thumbnails. So I want to go to, if you want to add a cool effect to that, change the color. You can change the color firsthand. As you can see, I left it at black, but when you're making your text, you can change the color to whatever you want. But if you, let's say, forget to change your color, then you can go to your bucket tool, which is right here, paint bucket or F on your shortcut. Change your color here. Let's say I like red, nice red, and then you just hold shift, because if you don't hold shift, it will only do one little color at a time, and that's if you have a lot of letters, that would kind of be tedious. So you want to hold shift. If you hold shift, it will change the type, the selection type to global, so that it will select every black thing or every blue or whatever color you clicked on. So once you have your change color, as you can see, it looks okay, but I want to add some another effects to make it look good. I actually, if you're a gradient tool is actually really useful if you want to make cool looking text and look good for thumbnails. So you hold shift and select. If you hold shift and click on one thing, of course, as I said before, it'll select the whole text. You want to click on the gradient tool. You want to pick two colors. Your primary color will be in the mid. And as you can see, if you have a linear gradient tool, if I just drag it, like you have one little dot and drag it up or something, it'll make a nice gradient looking text right there. So if you want, and you can change it to whatever color you want. You can make it blue to white, orange to white, or you can even change the secondary color to make it orange to blue or something, which doesn't look too good actually. But yeah, so let me just delete all that stuff. Alright. So, but the best gradient, I think, in my opinion, is if you go to, this is the linear gradient tool. This is the linear reflected gradient tool, which is have the color in the middle. We also have the diamond, which looks, I don't really like the look of that actually, but the best thing, in my opinion, is the radial tool, because look, you'll see how it looks once I'm done with it. So as you can see, it looks pretty weird like that. But if you have the middle color, like the primary color, which is the top left one here, as a light color like orange, and the secondary color as a dark like red, it looks really cool. Let me just make that lighter. It makes a really cool text effect, so that, and a lot of YouTubers do this on their thumbnails. Bam, look at that. The middle is like an orange and the edges are gradient so that they're darker red. I like the look of it. You guys can change whatever look of your text you want. This is totally up to you, because it's totally customizable thumbnail. Another thing I like to do is I go to effects, object, drop shadow, and I don't think you will have this, so you want to go to paint.net and go to paint.net object drop shadow plugin, or search that, something like that, to YouTube. And this is the one, I think this is the one I used, the Vander Motten right here. And you can search it up and download it, and you can look up a tutorial on that. I won't do a tutorial on how to make how to download effects, just how to make your thumbnail. So I go to effects, let's see, object drop shadow, and I add a black drop shadow. If you bring up the widening radius and the blur radius, Then you can make a cool, and then it'll be, oops, sorry, back. If you hit OK, look, it's totally popping up in the background. It looks really good than how it looked before. So I actually like to add an outline to my text because I like the look of it better. So if you go to effects, back to object drop shadow, you put the blur radius all the way down so it's just not blurred at all. Maybe bring down your whiting to 8, and then it has a little black outline, which looks pretty cool actually in my opinion. You can leave it at that if you want, but I like to add another drop shadow. But since you don't have drop shadow, another alternative is you go to photo glow, and if you add like the look of that, it looks pretty cool, right? If you hit OK, it glows the text a bit, so it looks pretty good. But you don't have to do that if you want. If you go to photo and glow, if you bring the radius all the way up, bring the brightness down, and bring the contrast all the way up, it'll add a little mini drop shadow itself. Look, I added a little drop shadow. Not as big as a drop shadow, but it's pretty good. This is what I used before on my old thumbnail. So as you can see, we spent so much time just working on one little thing, but in my opinion, I can do this pretty quickly. Once you only have to watch the tutorial once to be able to do the effects that I do. What I like to do is if I go to the eclipse selector, which is S, I highlight a little semicircle above the text, and you guys know what the effect looks like. If you see this little Merle's action button right here, adds a little white semicircle eclipse on the button on the top. You can add that to your text by doing the eclipse select and selecting the top of the text, there, and then you can change you can change if you want. And if you go if you have to make a new layer and then do the eclipse select, and then you can move the eclipse select like that. You can rotate it to make it, just do whatever you want with it. And then, once you've done that, you have to copy that, you got to go to the layer that your text is on, copy that by doing Control-C, paste it on a layer above it. So if you take away layer, look, you only pasted the top part of the text that you want to lighten. So you want to go to the cutout, you want to select the layer that's cut out, right? You want to go to Adjustments, Hue/Saturation, reset everything, and bring up the lightness to about, I would say, 25 or so, or let me see, 30. That looks pretty good. So when you zoom it out, it looks pretty cool. It looks like it has a little like light reflection on it. I don't know, I just like the look of it. You guys don't have to do it. You guys can do it if you want. As I said before, this is totally up to you. But you might not want to do it after you already do the drop shadow, because look, it kind of messed up there because the drop shadow is lightened too. But if you zoom out, it doesn't really make a difference. Select the top layer and click this little merge layer down, and then it'll merge the two layers so that it's on one separate layer, as you can see right there. So again, make a new layer and make your new text. I'm gonna kind of zip through this because you guys already know what I like to do in my thumbnails. I want to do a different font into another font I like. It's called Dimbo right here, D-I-M-B-O. Again, I got all these fonts from dafont.com. So make custom, and I'm gonna put that on the bottom. I'm gonna center the text because it just looks cool. Make custom thumbnails. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna put the thumbnails on a separate layer and make it bigger so that it looks a lot professional. So make custom, so that's on one layer, and then I'm gonna make a new layer and then make the thumbnails word a lot bigger. So thumbnails, so just it's centered. So as you can see, that looks pretty good. Make custom thumbnails. That looks really cool. I really like this font. It's called Dimbo. I really like the font, and it's really good. So now, if you want, you can merge the thumbnails and the make custom two layers. They're on separate layers. You can merge them into one layer. That's what I like to do, so it's a lot easier for me. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna change the color to red. I think that's pretty good. Let me see. Does that look good with the tutorial? Yeah, it looks pretty good. So again, you have to hold shift to select the whole thing. I'm gonna do a little gradient. So let me just select the whole thing. Alright. And make it from same thing. Make custom thumbnails. Does that look okay? That looks pretty good for me. You guys can change it up if you want. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for me. So I'm gonna add another drop shadow by own effects. Object drop shadow. I'm not gonna make an outline on this. Actually, I will make an outline, but make it smaller. make custom thumbnails. So I'm gonna leave that like that. I'm not gonna add a little. I'm not gonna glow that or anything. I'm just gonna leave it like that. But I'm gonna add a drop shadow because I add 99% of my text. I add a drop shadow to. Just looks pretty professional for me. There you go. So you already have, I think 80% of your thumbnail done. Now this is really simple. As you can see, I left some space on the bottom purposely because I want to add the little paint.net image to my actual thumbnail, but we don't have that much space. So let's actually select my tutorial and bring that down a bit. Oops. I go to the select tool, which is the top right corner of the tool window. Bring it down a bit. Or actually, no, let me just hold shift. And if you hold shift, as you can see, if we resize it, we can distort it. But if you hold shift, it will keep the aspect ratio of it. So I'm going to make it like that. Bring it to the top. And then unselect that by clicking deselect. Select the make custom thumbnails one. Select that. Make it a bit smaller. Right there. And then resize it so that it's perfectly fine. So now we have a lot more space for another paint.net image. We want to go to, I'm just going to go on Google Images and do search paint.net. Pretty easy. Oops, cap lock. This is the best one for my opinion. And let me see. This is a really good one. You can make your own if you want. Just download the logo and I paint.net. But I'm going to copy this image. Alright. And if I go in the new layer. And if this window pops up, because usually if you're pasting an image that's bigger than your canvas size, if you paste an image that's bigger than 1280 by 720, you want to click keep canvas size because you don't want to expand the 1280 by 720, make it totally different. So let's get this again. I hold shift to just keep the aspect ratio. I think that's a pretty good size right there. So let me just bring it up just a tiny bit so that I can add some emphasis to that. And deselect. So what I want to do, you want to get rid of that little white because it looks really unprofessional and it doesn't really go good with the background. So you want to go to this magic wand, which is S. Alright, click S. Why won't you click S? Okay, S is another one too. Go to the magic wand. Alright, and all you want to do is click on the white part, and then it will select only the white part and a little bit of these ones too. So if you click the white part and delete, there you go. We've deleted the white part successfully, which is really good. And if you want, as you can see, there's some white parts in between P and A and E. You can hold shift, but as you can see, it's selecting some of this white part on the cloud. So you can just select the white part only. Keep your tolerance at 50 and your flood mode at contiguous, whatever. Hold control and then select the P. It'll add that to the selection. It won't replace it. As you can see, just hold that. Hold control, select the P, A, and E. Hit delete on your keyboard, and bam, we have this perfectly good. So I'm gonna add another effects to it by going to Object Drop Shadow. There we go. It looks really bad like that. So just bring down, or you can add an outline to it. Add a white outline, which I like to do with some images. You don't have to do that for your images. It looks better in my opinion. Let's add another drop shadow, not too big. Just don't blur it too much. Let's see, paint.net. That doesn't look really good. So again, this is I messed up here, and you might mess up too. So this is just a basic trial and error. I'm just gonna add a photo glow to it to make it less. There we go. If you want, you can do that. Let me see. I like the look of that, in my opinion. I think it looks pretty good. So there you go. You are done. So this is the finished product right here. So if you like the thumbnail you want, and if you're finished with it, you can make some little tweaks to it. I think it looks pretty good in my opinion. Check if you have any spelling errors. Make custom thumbnail. No, I don't have any spelling errors. You have your image. And my tip on making a really good thumbnail is to not just add text and a background. You want to add some images to it. So that's what I do in most of my thumbnails. But for me, the background is good of an image enough, or add the Minecraft logo on the top, or the Battlefield logo, or whatever you want. I make gaming videos. If you can look at my thumbnails, and I don't want you to copy them. I want you to base if you like my thumbnails, you can base your thumbnails on mine, but make it customized to your own liking. So I like the way this looks. All right, you can add an image too. You go to File, Save As, not Save because that'll save it as a PDN, And if you want to keep on continuing to work on this, like if you're making a series, you want to change the episode 1 to episode 2 and episode 3, but you want to have the same background, you want to save it as a .pdn and then make it like, let's see, series, work in progress, something. And then it will, if you hit save there, as you can see, if I click series, work in progress, if I double tap that, it will open, oops, let me just close one of them. It will open the actual project itself. It won't open a file image. So if you want to make it compatible for YouTube thumbnails, you want to save it as a, what do you call it, PNG or JPEG. If you want, because if you have any transparency, like, let me show you an example. If you have any transparent things in your image and you want to keep it transparent, you want to save it as a PNG, because PNG saves transparency, but JPEG does not, but it makes the file size so much smaller. I like PNG because, I don't know, I just like I've been used to clicking PNG for a while, and I like the quality, and it's not too big. It can get a little big, but, you know, if it gets over 2 megabytes, change it to JPEG, right? Change it to JPEG. But for my sake, for you guys' sake, I'm just going to save it as a PNG, so that once you save it as JPEG, it'll be smaller file size. So, let's see, make thumbnails tutorial. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to do 2014 because I already have another tutorial thumbnail in my YouTube extras folder. And PNG, hit save, and it'll, as you can see, it's only 784.1 kilobytes, which is a tiny. It's way under 24 megabytes because the KB is smaller than MB. And if you click the bit depth, you can click 32-bit. It'll make it bigger, but it'll make the quality a bit better. So, but I just click auto detect because it's smaller file size and it doesn't look that much different. So once you're done that, you just hit OK, and then it'll ask you to flatten. And basically, as you can see, we have 4 layers here. It will flatten it into 1 layer because you can't have an image with 4 layers in the file size. So you just click flatten into 1 layer, and then this is the base. And then don't worry, you can exit out of this because you've already saved it if you want. And as you can see, if you search for it, there we go. Look at that, guys. If you double click on the make thumbnails tutorial 2014.png or whatever you name that, I use photo gallery to look at my images, but bam, you have finished your YouTube thumbnail. Once you know how to do it, it takes literally 5 to 10 minutes to do it on every single one of your videos. You don't have to add that many effects if you want. You can make it simple. But I want, as you can see, we can see all my thumbnails here. I want you guys, these are not really too good, but I want you guys to know this little tip. Make your thumbnails, make sure it doesn't have too much text, because then they won't be able to read it, and they'll be like, you want to have your thumbnail to be short and sweet. Like the text in your thumbnail to be short and sweet. Like my full title in this video is how to make custom thumbnails 2014 free blah blah. You don't want to have all of that on your thumbnail because you don't have that much space and it'll be pretty small. So as you can tell, I just did making custom thumbnails and tutorial, and once they read the title and the thumbnail, because the title and the thumbnail needs to go together really well. So if you have a short and sweet thumbnail, which is pretty good, I like the look of that. You want to make the thumbnail is the first thing that people will see on your video. You want to be able to, for them to click it so that they can see your video, and then you can promote your channel. So guys, if this tutorial helped you a lot, please leave a like and please comment, maybe even subscribe, because I have a lot more tutorials coming out for you guys, a lot more gameplay commentary. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. I'm really wanting to get this video out there for you guys to really help you guys who do not know how to make custom thumbnails by yourself. If you like the look of the thumbnails, you can follow the tutorial. If you don't like the look of it, I'm sorry, but this is how I make my thumbnails. I think they look pretty good in my opinion. If you guys like it, just please comment if you really need help or anything. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.